They say, they, meaning adults, you know, counselors, mentors, parents of depressed or unaffected children or youth, are usually, they tell a lie. And that lie goes something like this, which is that college is so much better than high school. College is the best time of your life. And I gotta tell you, folks, it's not. Not if you don't have friends. Not if you can't fucking find people like you to talk to. Then it's shit. It is depressing. It is fucking boring. It is monotonous. It is mind numbing. It is depressing. I already said that, but I'm going to say it a third time. It's depressing. You see that? Yeah. That's depression. She's unshaved face. Yeah, that's depression. See this fucking onion? That part of it just fell on the floor, and other parts of it that fell off earlier are strewn about all over the floor. That's depression. Actually, I could see how this could serve as therapy to maybe mitigate the effects of depression. It's just, I cuddle it. It's alive after all. So, speaking of which, I don't want my roommate to come back. That's not true. It'll give me somebody to talk to, but man, he stays up so fucking late. Maybe only if I was just like fucking him, man. Or only if I was just like everybody else, somehow either fucking not be totally depressed and unsatisfied, or pretend, fool myself into believing that I wasn't depressed or unsatisfied, with just sitting in front of a computer screen for hours on end, like, just playing a game, playing something that has no bearing on reality whatsoever. Usually there's no other people involved besides me, and you're just diddling around with the computer. I don't understand that. As much as I can sit here and sort of not even complain, but just like talk a little bit about depression and maybe some depression that I experience, which I'd say is not very severe. I would say it's pretty typical degree of severity of depression. Something that's just almost pandemic in this society, which isn't really surprising, seeing how little people actually get to interact with each other. But just talking about it makes me realize that if I actually lived like other people, how much more depressed I would be, because it would serve as a constant reminder. I mean, way more than this fucking floor being dirty. Sure, I can tell myself, like, oh, look, my whole fucking wardrobe is strewn out all over the floor. Like, look how fucking depressed I am, and I'm totally demotivated and just a fucking slob. Or I could be sitting in front of a fucking computer screen and be constantly reminded, oh, I'm pissing my entire fucking life away, in front of a fucking illusion. I mean, like, literally, something that's entire purpose is to fool me into, like, I don't even know, fucking deluding myself that something I'm doing actually matters. I mean, that's 10 times more depressing than fucking seeing a bunch of clothes that I just fucking, one, paid $3.50 to wash, but, also spent a bunch of time fucking getting up off the floor and throwing in a washer and then throwing in a dryer just to dump it all on the fucking dirty floor again. I don't know. Maybe some people would disagree with me. Maybe that's more depressing. I look at the injustices of my country, both domestic and international, and I ask myself, how are people so apathetic? How are people so stupid that they allow the concentrations of power, both private and corporate entities, and then also um, the the concentrations of state power in government. I ask how people have become so detached, so dissociated from policies of extremely powerful institutions that not just affect their lives, but affect the lives of their neighbors, their countrymen, and their fellow human beings. But then, at the same time, I sit around on my ass and get absolutely nothing done in a day. All that I can really do at my best is sit and read a book, something about the injustices or the inefficiencies or just the total idiocy of my country, the people within it, and public policy, and the crimes of the corporate apparatus. But I can't even stand to look another human being in the face, a lot of the time. One, just because I feel so detached from them, but also because I feel as if I have so little to give from them, besides this sort of just, whiny, depressed shit that nobody else wants to hear for the most part. Because my theory is it reminds them of how they actually feel on the inside as well. It's just I'm one of the few people that sort of confront it, and I'm open about it, because I'm one of those rare people that it actually doesn't depress that much, I mean, the fact that our society is totally fucking broken and people care about each other way less than I think it's natural to do so, and there's a great deal of suffering in our society, both economic, mental, emotional, physical, all things that I'll probably get into at one point or another. And it leads to apathy. I mean, it's hard to sit around with nobody to talk to and be informed, be somebody who's decently informed, somebody who is actually knowledgeable about at least the general big picture institutional societal-wide issues, and at the same time have no social network to operate within, have very few other people that are willing to associate in a constructive, political, and worldly manner. Not to have institutions in which one can operate, or one can even ingratiate themselves in, to try and solve significant problems. And I guess that's where my mind is always led whenever I think about depression or an unwillingness to engage, an unwillingness to succeed. Because I think a lot of people, when they think of success, when they think of engagement in their society, all that they can think of is what's been fed to them by private power and by state power, which basically just serves as an arm of corporate power at this point, at least in this country, the United States, that has indoctrinated people. I mean, all that people can look at is the propaganda and say to themselves, well, the only thing that I can do to engage in my society is to enter into a hyper-competitive labor market and just kick other people in the face, act like a total fucking psychopath and take advantage of other people. And I think people understand, maybe even subconsciously, they just feel the total moral, ethical, and intellectual bankruptcy of it. And so, and particularly young people, I think, because the mechanisms of indoctrination, I don't want to say have been less potent, because part of the indoctrination mechanisms are just to make specifically the general population completely apathetic and ignorant. Just totally benighted. And I think that's been very successful. But I think at the same time, people don't accept the presuppositions of government and of the corporate sphere. And what it's led to is apathy. What it's led to is a complete and utter bewilderment to the point where people just can't associate with each other and can't work together in a constructive way. And that certainly had a big effect on my life. And I don't know what to do about it. I really don't. I'm a young person. I think these are good things to think about right now. And I don't feel totally defeated. I don't feel hopeless. I know that part of growing up is trying to figure out exactly what it is you want to do with your life. And I think I've at least alluded to in the past 10 minutes a sketch of exactly what that might be. Activism, of course, but it just seems like a pipe dream. It just seems like a fraudulent sort of aspiration. I mean, or at the very least something that's just totally delusional. Being somebody who has no real relationships, or very few, no real meaningful relationships, at least where I live. And I just wonder, I wonder whenever I pass by, a big group of people that are my age, how fucking connected do they actually feel to the people that they decide to associate with? The people that they show up with in public, to sort of make a statement, to sort of declare, oh, well, I have friends, like I have a social life. I mean, how much of that is just posing, I mean, how much of that is just to appear a certain way? And how much of it is actual genuine connection? And that's a difficult question to pose to somebody because, of course, they are going to create sort of standards or conceptions of what a relationship is based off of the ones that they can find, based off of the ones that they have access to, that they're capable of forging. And obviously those standards aren't going to surpass, or aren't going to far surpass, whatever they've been able to achieve in terms of relationships. But based off of my standards, I have no choice but to be led to the conclusion that often when people are interacting with each other, when people are talking to each other, that's not really what they're doing. Or at least not in a very meaningful way. I can remember back in high school, a lot of friends that I just had, it was just to waste time with. It was just to do absolutely fucking nothing but piss time away. Whatever, that was fun. But it was fun for me. I got in friendships for me. Because it was something that I wanted. I wanted friends. So, fucking talk to somebody that you can lie to yourself. You can deceive yourself into thinking, oh, well, they're funny. Or you like them, they're interesting, even though they never were. This isn't always true, of course. There are some people that I felt really close with, but that's extremely rare. Compared with all the people that I've ever talked with that, would consider me a friend. Okay, I consider them a friend. I wouldn't consider them somebody I'm close with, though. It's so strange in the modern world that those two things are disassociated from each other. Even the fact that they are at all. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I talk to somebody and I meet them and I talk to them maybe 3 times and then we're friends. That's so strange. You don't know anything about this person. You never had a serious conversation with them. Like you don't know much about them, but you're friends. And usually you're not friends between you. You two, like in private, you're like, yeah, we're pals. It's always like, somebody says in front of a bunch of their friends, it's like, oh yeah, I know John. Like, yeah, we're friends. So impersonal, so disingenuous, And I don't blame other people. I think that's all that they know. I think that's the only examples that they've been given, for the most part. Because the way that our society works, the way our economy works, is that you have to be working in your own self-interest. You have to care first and foremost about yourself. You aren't supposed to have solidarity. You aren't supposed to work as a community. You aren't supposed to cooperate with other people. You're supposed to do things for yourself. all for myself, nothing for anyone else. You know, that's what people are spoon fed, you know, since they're babies. And sometimes it's by their parents. You know, usually they're your parents. You know, if you live a working class or lower class family, what do they tell you? You know, they say, "Oh, you know, well, maybe I beat my kid, or you know, maybe I emotionally abuse them and threatened them to kick them out of the house." Well, it's just in their best interest. It's to show them that the world's a tough place. You know, so I need to exercise tough love. You know, and say that nobody's out there to save you in your time of need. No, fuck that. You know, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and fucking, you know, find a way to make ends meet. You know, just as an individual atomized entity, because that's all that you are. Nobody's out there to help you. You know, I mean, and it doesn't even matter. You could be rich. I mean, my parents are wealthy. You know, um, and I remember being in high school and hearing crazy shit. You know, even my parents, but like, I mean, not even close to as bad as other people's parents, saying all kinds of crazy shit to them. Um, so that you hear it from your family, you hear it on the television. I mean, everywhere. I mean, I don't fucking watch TV. I mean, I barely even go online. I mean, the reason why I actually wanted to make these videos, the reason why I was sort of inspired, but not really, just sort of the idea was brought forth sort of by revisiting some videos on YouTube, but I barely ever, I mean, I never watch stuff online. But the point is, like in commercials and things like that, I mean, this stuff's just ubiquitous, with corporate advertising. I mean, you turn on the television and there's some video, there's some commercial of some, little girl or something that's, like, I don't know, got her arm crossed and is, like really, has got like a pissed off face because her dad like didn't buy her some shit. And then, as sort of the big resolve at the end of the commercial, the dad gets an upgrade on like the fucking cable network or something, and then, like the girl embraces him, with a hug or something, and then they're a happy family again. You know, and I mean, if you're watching that, you're 4 years old because your fucking mom, both your parents have to fucking work because the minimum wage has been going down since the early 1970s, at least real wages, counting inflation. So both parents have been driven into the workforce because God knows that if you're a mother, trying to raise a child isn't real work. So you got to go into the workforce, in order to make a shit ton of dough for some fat cat fucker that's at the head of the corporate conglomerate that you slave away for night and fucking day. I mean, what's the outcome? Okay, well, your fucking kid, they have to fucking be staring at the television, the glow of the television screen all day. The television's a fucking babysitter. Or now it's like the iPad or your iPhone or just your computer. And there are advertisements all over that shit too. So, I mean, these messages have a huge effect on people. And it's I think it attacks human nature, I think is what it does. I very strongly believe that people have, and this isn't counting like psychopaths, and sociopaths develop conditionally. I think that sociopathy, some people call it narcissism, but I think that's just endemic in this society. I think, I mean, it's a huge fucking social problem in this society, whether you want to call it sociopathy or narcissism. But anyway, so discrediting or discounting psychopathy, I think that people, under the right circumstances, I don't want to say naturally, but under the right circumstances, will act very altruistically, will cooperate with each other in a very civil, in a very peaceful, and in a very benevolent and generous manner. Um, and maybe at some point I'll make a video detailing kind of my philosophy. But I think that capitalism is deeply anti-human. I think our economic system is an attack on our fundamental human nature, or at least the best parts of our fundamental human nature, a great deal of which is, and really kind of what initiated this much more interesting fucking digression than the first half of the video was the way people should naturally associate with each other, which I think is in a very personal way. And I think that it's a huge victory for our system, our capitalist system, which diverts a majority of resources both nationally and internationally to a very, very privileged, extremely powerful elite. I mean, we live in the richest country in the world. And, I walk around Boston and there's, huge fucking towers, Prudential and shit, insurance companies, just fucking vultures, that can exploit you and, when you're fucking laying in your deathbed in a hospital, so that your fucking family will bankrupt themselves, in order to pay some exorbitant fucking fee that Prudential gets to fucking make, and meanwhile, like, right underneath a huge looming corporate apparatus is just fucking, swaths of homeless people. We live in the richest fucking country in the world. I mean, what the fuck is up with that? I mean, we know what's fucking up with it. It's that we live in a totally fucking rigged economic system where the powerful stay powerful and get more powerful, the rich stay rich, and the rich get richer. And everybody else either just has to deal with the fucking pain and suffering that causes, or if they're privileged enough, like somebody like me who gets to sit around and fucking think about and complain about this fucking stuff and go to college, and when my parents pay $70,000 when college basically used to be free, less than a fucking 100 years ago, it used to be fucking free basically. Not completely, but I mean, for fucking GIs, it was free, after World War II. And that's what, I mean, a huge portion of, the booming post-wartime economy was based off of. And obviously based off the military-industrial complex and all sorts of other things, which, has had the biggest effect on our economy out of anything, any other factor. But, aside from getting into that, that fact combined with the fact that I think because of the information that we're exposed to, we have just been driven into apathy. And nobody gives a damn. I mean, I don't even have the confidence. I have no clue what's in other people's head. Because I think it's just been so fucking buried. It's just been driven so deep into people's fucking subconscious. Is that when you ask people, like, do you question, do you think there's something wrong, with the fact that there's just this total naked, I mean, completely unjustifiable inequality? People, I mean, some people are afraid to fucking answer those sorts of questions, particularly if other people are listening. And I often question, it's just like, are those questions even there? Is there anything that's resonating inside of you when I talk about this shit? I don't fucking know, man. I really don't know. And every time that I sort of go on these sort of rants, these sort of rambles, and usually they're more coherent because I'm actually talking to somebody, so, they're giving all sorts of counter arguments, and usually I try and talk to people that actually know a bunch of specific details that I can argue with, because as you can fucking tell, I don't normally do that, at least in conversation, unless they come up. I am somebody who's pretty well knowledgeable about these sorts of things, and hopefully if somebody actually fucking watches this, then, I don't know, they can tell me I'm fucking crazy, and then I can, make a video about a specific topic. I brought up a lot, but about a specific topic with actual details and shit. But every time that I fucking talk about this sort of thing, it's just dead silence most of the time. It's just everybody just looks at me like I'm fucking from fucking Mars or something. Or I just got to stick on my ass. Like, I'm just saying all this stuff like, oh, you're just trying to be edgy, you're just trying to stand out. Or like, you're just an arrogant prick, who says all kinds of things that, like, don't you understand that hurts other people's feelings? Or don't you have enough faith, in our president, or, our bureaucrats, or, our fucking jingoist commissars? Like, no, I fucking don't. Why do we need to have faith in authority? Authority is something that needs to be justified by people in positions of authority. You know, I mean, why do people don't fucking understand that? I think people do. I think people did understand it when they were like 3, 4, 5 years old, but it was driven out of their fucking heads, you know, by threats and fucking coercion and, you know, all kinds of just, you know, petty fucking derogatory, you know, just inexcusable tactics, you know, either from their peers, you know, adults, you know, their parents, school teachers. And I don't know. I don't know how I fucking escaped it. Maybe that's something I'll dedicate a video to. I don't think I have. I mean, I don't, that's the entire fucking point of this video, is that maybe intellectually, maybe ideologically I escaped it. But practically, I'm fucking as deep in it as everybody else is. Because look at me. I'm fucking sitting here in a room, you know, fucking pouring all of my anger and all my passion into a fucking video, you know, just talking to myself. I could be fucking going out and I don't even know. I don't even know because I've never been fucking, the options have never been articulated, you know, at least by anybody I've ever fucking talked to. I mean, okay, like you can, you know, open up fucking cans at a soup kitchen. Okay, I've done stuff like that. And that's nice, but that's pretty self-serving, you know, like sure, that makes me feel fucking good about myself, like I'm doing something with my time, but it's just a fucking band-aid. You know, it's not a fucking systematic solution to, you know, a societal-wide fundamental problem, you know, which is homelessness and poverty. What I fucking want is I want people to identify the source of fucking power. I want people to identify the source of oppression, and I want people to fucking grab it by the throat, you know, and I want people to fucking just strangle it. I want people to fucking seek out every single source of illegitimate, unjustifiable authority, and I want them to do away with it. I think then there wouldn't be all these sorts of problems. People wouldn't be fucking isolated. People wouldn't be disassociated from each other. People wouldn't be so afraid. People wouldn't feel so threatened that they couldn't actually say what's on their fucking mind, whatever it is, because I don't fucking know, because I never get to fucking hear it. You know? People wouldn't feel as if they somehow had to fit into expectations of the society, which when people really, when people are prating about that shit, what they're really talking about is the expectations of corporate America, you know, to make people as fucking profitable as possible, turn people into just totally apathetic, stupid, incompetent consumers, you know, and try and convince people that the ultimate fucking lifestyle, the ultimate set of values is just to sit there in front of your goddamn television and fucking buy whatever a fucking, you know, half-naked model fucking presents to you on a silver platter and fucking threatens you, you know, and fucking cows you into believing that something horrible is gonna fucking happen to you, like your daughter is gonna fucking disavow you if you don't fucking buy it, you know. Well, I think I've said everything that I've needed to for tonight. This video went on for a while. I might have to split it up into two separate parts, depending on what YouTube's policy is. It's probably some bullshit. I was hearing recently that YouTube is changing their policy so that people who like don't have any views on YouTube can't create a custom thumbnail. So yeah, my fucking expectation, my faith in YouTube is about fucking zero. So we'll have to see. But anybody who thought this was interesting, comment below, like the video, maybe subscribe if you have any faith that I'm going to be making these on a regular basis. I'm going to try to. I don't see any reason not to. I thought this actually went pretty well once I figured out how to fucking do it. And yeah, if I get anybody to actually view it, then cool. Ask any sort of questions, any counter arguments. I don't know, call me out on my total bullshit and I'm an idiot, you know. Say whatever. That's cool. Message me, make a response video, fucking send a link to something you think I should watch. I don't fucking know anything. Um, Aside from that, I think I might have said it already, but hope you enjoyed watching. If I have other videos, go and watch those because they're probably going to be pretty similar. At least for the time being, until I can come up with some good ideas of what actually to do that's a little bit more organized and a little bit more constructive and a little bit more user and viewer friendly. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Okay, bye.